It is not uncommon for people to attach the face of a man to those doing evil. However, this is not always true. We've seen some women do worse, standing out as the most threatening among criminals. From heartless serial killers to cunning masterminds of deception, these women have left an indelible mark on history with their dark and sinister deeds. Join us as we unravel the true face of evil and journey into the lives of the 20 most dangerous women in the world. Number 20. Amelia Dyer. Amelia Dyer, infamously known as the Reading baby farmer, was a dark figure who operated during the Victorian era in the United Kingdom. Born to a local shoemaker, she had a challenging upbringing, caring for her mentally ill mother and struggling to become a trained nurse and midwife. Unfortunately, instead of using her skills to nurture and heal, she embarked on a sinister path, becoming a baby farmer, a practice where unwanted babies were taken in for a fee, only to be maltreated or killed under the pretense to care. Dyer's entry into this grim business came after she learned the trade from a colleague. Initially, she allowed the infants under her care to perish from neglect and starvation. However, her cruelty escalated, and she began drugging or strangling the innocent children to dispose of them. During the Victorian era, baby farming was a profitable venture, and many vulnerable babies fell victim to the hands of individuals like Dyer. In 1879, Dyer's atrocities were brought to light when a doctor raised concerns about the alarming number of deaths occurring under her care. Shockingly, she received a mere 6-month sentence of hard labor for neglect, and upon her release, she shamelessly resumed her horrifying business. To avoid detection, she took matters into her own hands, disposing of the lifeless bodies in the River Thames, covering their necks with white tapes as a chilling trademark. However, fate caught up with Amelia Dyer when an infant's body was discovered in the river and traced back to her. Several more babies were found in a similar manner, sealing her gruesome fate. She was arrested, and in court, she shockingly pleaded guilty to just one murder. The verdict was swift and severe, as she was sentenced to death by hanging. Number 19. Angie Clemente Valencia. Angie Clemente Valencia, once a promising Colombian supermodel, saw her dreams of fame and luxury come to a tragic end when she became embroiled in a cocaine racket. Born and raised in Colombia, she began her career as a beauty queen and lingerie model, even qualifying for the International Queen of Coffee beauty pageant in 2000. However, after spending 8 years in Mexico, Angie moved to Buenos Aires' reign as a beauty queen was short-lived, as she was dethroned 2 days later when it was discovered she was already married, with her Argentinian boyfriend, Nicolas Huelco. Little did she know that her life would take a dark turn in December 2009. The arrest of another model, Maria Noel Lopez Iglesias, at an airport in Argentina, with a suitcase containing a staggering 55 kilograms of cocaine, set off a chain of events that would lead to Angie Clemente's downfall. During questioning, Lopez Iglesias implicated Angie as the mastermind behind the drug syndicate. Less than a year later, Angie was apprehended in a local hospital in Buenos Aires where she was hiding under a false identity. It was revealed that she had been recruiting young female drug mules to smuggle drugs into Europe, making her the alleged ringleader of one of the largest drug syndicates in the world. Subsequently, Angie Clemente Valencia was arrested and sentenced to jail in the same year. After spending 3 years behind bars, she was released, deported to Colombia, and banned from ever returning to Argentina. Number 18. Gertrude Banazevsky. Gertrude Banazevsky was a woman involved in one of the most horrifying and tragic cases in Indiana's history. When Sylvia Likens and her sister Jenny befriended Gertrude's daughters, Paula and Stephanie Banazevsky, little did they know the torment that awaited them when their mother was imprisoned, and they were sent to live with the Banazevsky family. What started as a temporary living arrangement quickly turned into a nightmarish ordeal for Sylvia Likens. Gertrude Banazevsky began subjecting her to a systematic and relentless campaign of abuse, fueled in part by the Likens' late payments for their care. Sadly, even Sylvia's sister Jenny was coerced into participating in the mistreatment as a way to avoid further consequences. For 3 harrowing months, with the assistance of her children and some neighbors, Gertrude subjected Sylvia to unimaginable torture. The severity of the mistreatment eventually took its toll, and on October 26, 1965, Sylvia's body effectively shut down from the abuse, leading to her untimely death. The combination of injuries, shock, and malnourishment ultimately claimed her life. The trial that followed revealed the horrifying extent of the cruelty inflicted upon Sylvia Likens. The case was widely regarded as the single worst crime perpetrated against an individual in Indiana's history, leaving the community in shock and disbelief. In the aftermath of the trial, Gertrude Banazevsky was sentenced to life in prison for her role in Sylvia's death. However, she was later paroled on December 4, 1985, which left many deeply disturbed by the prospect of her freedom. Gertrude lived free until her death in 1990, leaving a legacy of pain and anguish in the wake of her actions. Number 17. Griselda Blanco. Also known as the godmother of cocaine, the Black Widow, and the Godmother, she was a notorious Colombian cocaine trafficker who rose to prominence in the 1970s and 80s. Born in 1943, she grew up in poverty and tragically was drawn into a life of crime from a very young age. At just 11 years old, she was reportedly involved in a kidnapping case, and when the victim's family refused to pay the ransom, she allegedly shot him. This early act of violence foreshadowed the ruthless and deadly path she would follow. After running away from home, Blanco became involved in various criminal activities, including looting and migrating to the United States under a false identity. Once there, she established herself as a prominent figure in the cocaine trade, eliminating her competitors and gaining control over a vast empire. By the early 1980s, she had become a key player in the Miami drug wars, a period often referred to as the Cocaine Cowboy Wars. Her reputation as one of the deadliest women in the drug trade struck fear into the hearts of many. Throughout her criminal career, Blanco was implicated in hundreds of murders and killings that swept the city of Miami. In 1985, she was finally arrested by the DEA in her home and charged with conspiracy to manufacture, import, and distribute cocaine. She was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years in prison. While serving her sentence, she faced further charges of first-degree murder in the state of Florida. In 1998, Blanco pleaded guilty to these charges and was sentenced to an additional 20 years in prison. However, her story took a surprising turn when she was released and deported to Medellin in 2004. After her return to Colombia, she allegedly retired from a life of crime, but fate caught up with her 8 years later when she was gunned down by an assassin while shopping for meat in a butcher's shop. Number 16. Ruja Ignatova. In the annals of financial history, few scams have left such a devastating impact as the OneCoin cryptocurrency scheme masterminded by Ruja Ignatova. A Bulgarian-born German citizen, Ignatova's nefarious activities have earned her a spot on the FBI's most wanted list since June 2022, making her one of the world's most elusive fugitives. The OneCoin saga began around 2014 when Ignatova and her accomplices allegedly hatched a plan to defraud unsuspecting victims of a staggering $4 billion. By promoting a fake cryptocurrency called OneCoin, they enticed people with promises of unimaginable wealth and returns. Charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, securities fraud, and more have been levied against Ignatova by the U.S. Department of Prosecutions. This criminal mastermind's web of deceit seemed impenetrable, and she managed to evade the authorities for years. In a shocking turn of events, Ignatova vanished without a trace on October 25, 2017, just as the noose was tightening around her operation in Sofia. Her disappearance set off a global manhunt led by various international law enforcement agencies. For more than 5 years, the world wondered what became of Ruja Ignatova. Some speculated she had amassed a fortune and slipped away into the shadows of the criminal underworld. Indeed, having access to substantial funds can facilitate disappearing without a trace. However, recent developments on January 2023 reignited the hunt for Ignatova. Astonishingly, she was found to be alive after her luxurious penthouse flat in London was put up for sale. This discovery sent shockwaves through law enforcement circles and renewed hope that justice might finally catch up with her. Even more startling, documents emerged in February 2023 suggesting that Ignatova may have met a grim fate. They indicate she was allegedly murdered in 2018, allegedly at the behest of a notorious Bulgarian drug lord named Christoforos Amanatidis Taki. Number 15, Samantha Lewthwaite. Samantha Lewthwaite, also known as the White Widow, is a notorious British terrorist who has gained infamy as one of the Western world's most wanted terrorism suspects. Born on December 5, 1983, in Banbridge, County Down, Northern Ireland, her life took a dark turn when she became the widow of Jermaine Lindsay, one of the bombers responsible for the tragic 7/7 London terrorist attacks in 2005. Lewthwaite's alleged involvement in terrorism goes beyond the 7/7 attacks. She is suspected of being responsible for the deaths of more than 400 people and is believed to have played a significant role in planning and orchestrating acts of terror. Her ties to extremist groups led to her alleged involvement with Al-Shabaab, a militant organization operating in Kenya and Somalia. Since 2011, Lewthwaite has been on the run, evading authorities and remaining a fugitive in Kenya, where she is believed to be receiving protection from local networks sympathetic to her cause. The seriousness of her alleged crimes led to Interpol issuing a red notice, the highest level of international alert, calling for her arrest and subsequent extradition to the United Kingdom. Among the charges brought against her are possession of explosives and conspiracy to commit a felony, highlighting the grave nature of the accusations against her. The combination of her extremist affiliations, her suspected role in planning acts of terror, and her elusive nature have made her a figure of great concern to security agencies across the world. Despite extensive efforts by law enforcement agencies and intelligence services, Samantha Lewthwaite's whereabouts continue to elude capture, and she remains a wanted individual on the international stage. Her notoriety as the White Widow has cemented her position as one of the most infamous terrorism suspects, with her name striking fear in the hearts of those who seek justice for the victims of terror and peace for the affected communities. Number 14, Joanna Dennehy. Joanna Dennehy is an infamous female serial killer who stands out due to the chilling nature of her crimes and her disturbing motives. Born on an unspecified date in the early 1980s, she came into the public eye in 2013 when she went on a 10-day-long killing spree, during which she committed multiple heinous murders. During her murderous rampage, Dennehy first killed 2 of her roommates and her landlord before heading out for a walk, where she attempted to murder several random strangers who were walking their dogs in a park. Her callous admission that she committed these crimes simply because she enjoyed the feeling sets her apart from many other killers, including male serial killers. Her lack of remorse and the seemingly sadistic pleasure she derived from her actions have deeply disturbed investigators and the public alike. Following her killings, Dennehy enlisted the help of an accomplice, Gary Richards, to dispose of the bodies, leading to the murders being known as the Peterborough Ditch Murders, named after the location where the bodies were found. Her sinister plan was to kill 9 men in total, inspired by the infamous criminal duo Bonnie and Clyde. However, she was arrested just a couple of days after police discovered the first body, preventing her from fulfilling her twisted goal. Psychiatrists and experts who examined Dennehy's behavior have labeled her as a psychopath, characterized by her lack of empathy, remorse, and disregard for the feelings and lives of others. Her motive for killing simply out of enjoyment sets her apart from typical killers, male or female, who often have specific motives or triggers for their crimes. Due to the severity and brutality of her crimes, Joanna Dennehy was sentenced to life in prison, ensuring that she would spend the rest of her days behind bars. Number 13, Maria Licciardi. Maria Licciardi is a notorious Italian criminal whose involvement with the Camorra, a criminal organization similar to the Mafia, spanned several decades before her eventual arrest in 2021. Born on March 24, 1951, in Secondigliano, Naples, Italy, she was destined to be part of the criminal world as it ran in her family's tradition. Her father held a prominent position as a local boss, and her brothers were deeply involved in the Camorra, making it difficult for her to avoid its grasp. In her early criminal career, Licciardi was known as La Piccolina, or the Little Girl, due to her diminutive stature. However, as she ascended the ranks within the organization, She earned the respect and fear of her fellow associates, earning the nickname La Madrina, or the Godmother. Among women in the Camorra, she is referred to as La Principessa, or the Princess, due to her elevated status within the crime syndicate. Her criminal activities included charges of murder, drug trafficking, and extortion, making her a highly dangerous and influential figure within the Camorra. Her involvement in these heinous acts led to her first arrest in 2001, which resulted in an 8-year prison sentence. However, even imprisonment did not deter her from continuing her criminal pursuits. In 2001, law enforcement authorities managed to apprehend Licciardi while she was attempting to board a flight to Spain. Following her capture, she was sentenced to almost 13 years in prison in 2023, reflecting the severity of her crimes and the threat she posed to society. Maria Licciardi held a significant position within the Licciardi Camorra clan, which was founded by her brother Gennaro Licciardi, and was part of the larger criminal organization known as the Secondigliano Alliance. Her leadership and involvement in the Camorra's activities have left a dark and lasting impact on the region of Campania and beyond. Number 12. Marianne Cotton. Marianne Cotton, an English serial killer, was executed in 1873 for poisoning her stepson. She was a nurse and housekeeper who poisoned up to 21 people, including her own children and 3 husbands, for insurance policies. Cotton's killing spree began in 1865 and continued until 1872, with her victims receiving insurance payouts for many of their deaths. She was charged with the murder of Charles Edward Cotton and had a daughter born in January 1873 who survived. Cotton was hanged at Durham County Jail on March 24, 1873 by William Calcraft. She died from strangulation caused by a short rope, possibly deliberately. Number 11. Nizrin Mansour AlForgani. Nizrin Mansour AlForgani is a Libyan woman who found herself entangled in the dark and brutal world of Muammar Gaddafi's all-female militias. Born in Libya, she became a member of one of these units, which were notorious for their loyalty to Gaddafi and their involvement in various acts of violence during his regime. One of the most horrifying aspects of AlForgani's involvement with the militia is her admission to executing at least 11 suspected rebel prisoners in Libya in 2011. She revealed that she carried out these killings under the chilling threat that her own life would be in grave danger if she refused to comply. In addition to her role in the alleged executions, AlForgani has also disclosed a deeply disturbing experience of alleged rape at the hands of her commanding officer, Mansour Dow. This occurred after she was recruited into the elite all-female unit of the Popular Guards. The exploitation of power and the use of sexual violence as a tool of control within the militia further highlight the horrors she faced during her time in service. Her life took a dramatic turn when she attempted to escape the clutches of the militia by jumping out of a second-story window. However, her freedom was short-lived as she was captured by rebels. Currently, she remains held, shackled to a bed, at the Matega Hospital in Tripoli. Number 10. Catherine de' Medici. Catherine de' Medici was a prominent figure in French history, serving as the Queen of France from 1547 to 1559. She held significant political influence over her sons, who became the French kings Francis II, Charles IX, and Henry III. Throughout her time as queen and regent, she played a crucial role in navigating the turbulent period of the French Wars of Religion, which saw conflicts between Catholics and Calvinist Protestants known as Huguenots. Catherine's reign was marked by complex political maneuvers and attempts to maintain control amidst the religious strife. It is widely believed that she sought to eliminate Gaspard de Coligny, the leader of the Huguenots, through an assassination plot. However, the attempt failed, and fearing retaliation from the powerful Huguenots, Catherine devised a drastic plan to eliminate them before they could strike back. The result of Catherine's actions was the infamous St. Bartholomew's Day massacre, which took place on August 24, 1572. During this brutal event, thousands of Huguenots were killed in a coordinated and systematic attack across various regions in France. Historians estimate that between 5,000 to 30,000 Huguenots lost their lives during the massacre, making it one of the bloodiest and most tragic episodes of the French Wars of Religion. The St. Bartholomew's Day massacre left a lasting scar on the history of France and the relationship between Catholics and Protestants in the country. Catherine de' Medici's involvement in this massacre has been a subject of significant debate and criticism over the centuries. Number 9. Gislane Maxwell. Gislane Maxwell, a British socialite, has gained notoriety for her association with Jeffrey Epstein, a wealthy financier who was involved in multiple heinous crimes, including child sex trafficking. Maxwell's background is linked to her father, Robert Maxwell, a media mogul with a controversial reputation. She moved to New York City and became closely connected with wealthy and questionable individuals, including Epstein. In 2019, the spotlight intensified when sex trafficking allegations surfaced against Epstein. Maxwell faced legal consequences for her involvement in these crimes, and she has been convicted and sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. Her association with Epstein and her role in his exploitative activities have been the subject of numerous documentaries and media attention. As of now, Gislane Maxwell is serving her sentence at FCI Tallahassee, a federal prison in Florida. However, she has lodged an appeal against her sex trafficking conviction. Number 8. Enriqueta Marti. Enriqueta Marti was a Spanish child serial killer, kidnapper, and procuress of children who was known as the Vampire of Cararponent, the Vampire of Barcelona, and the Vampire of the Raval. Enriqueta Marti was born in Sant Feliu de Llobregat in 1868. As a young woman, she moved to Barcelona, where she worked as a maidservant and nanny before turning to prostitution and working in a high-class brothel. Marti was accused of kidnapping and murdering children in Barcelona in the early 1990s. She was also accused of procuring children for wealthy clients, who would then abuse and kill them. She was known for her use of potions and spells, which she claimed could cure illnesses and bring good luck. Marti was arrested in 1912 and charged with the murder of a child. She was found guilty and sentenced to death, but she died in prison before the sentence could be carried out. Number 7. Melissa Calderon. Here we have a suspected Mexican drug trafficker and assassin known for her leadership in the enforcer group Las Penisuras Especial de los Daimers, which operated under the Sinaloa cartel. Born to Jose and Alma Calderon, she officially entered the criminal world in 2005, aligning herself with the powerful Sinaloa cartel before becoming the leader of the De Maso cartel, an offshoot of the same organization. Unfortunately, Calderon's early criminal career was marred by tragedy when her first boyfriend was killed by the cartel leader, El Grande, resulting in her removal from her position. Seeking vengeance, she assumed the leadership of Las Forenza and initiated an internal war against El Grande with the support of her new boyfriend and second-in-command, Hector Gomas, also known as El Chino. Over the course of a decade, Melissa Calderon was allegedly involved in over 150 murders across Mexico, including violent attacks in the resort area of Baja California. The extent of her criminal activities highlights the ruthlessness and danger she posed within the world of drug trafficking and organized crime. Rumors have circulated that corrupt police officers may have aided her in evading capture and perpetrating her criminal acts, shedding light on the complex and problematic relationship between some law enforcement personnel and criminal elements in Mexico. However, in 2005, Calderon's luck ran out when the police arrested her just as she was about to board a flight. Speculation suggests that her most recent boyfriend may have turned her in, providing intelligence that led to her capture. After her arrest, she faced trial and was subsequently sentenced to prison. Currently incarcerated in a maximum security prison, Melissa Calderon's criminal career has come to an end. Number 6. Carla Homolka. Carla Homolka is one of the most notorious serial killers in Canadian history, known for her horrifying crimes committed in collaboration with her husband, Paul Bernardo, during the early 1990s. The depth of her depravity became shockingly evident as the details of her actions were brought to light. The first victim of this gruesome duo was none other than Carla's own younger sister, Tammy Homolka. Just 2 days before Christmas, Tammy was subjected to a horrifying ordeal at the hands of her older sister and Bernardo. They drugged and assaulted her, which tragically resulted in her death after she choked on her vomit. Unfortunately, their reign of terror did not end there. Carla and Bernardo went on to kidnap and brutally mistreat 2 more young girls, Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French. The level of cruelty they inflicted on their innocent victims was beyond comprehension. When Carla was eventually apprehended, she employed manipulative tactics to shift blame onto Bernardo, presenting herself as a victim. She provided testimony against him in exchange for a lenient sentence, leading to public outrage as the true extent of her involvement in the heinous crimes was revealed through disturbing videotapes. Despite the overwhelming evidence of her active role in the murders and the monstrous acts committed, Carla Homolka received a surprisingly lenient sentence. Now, it's time for the subscriber pick. Meet Linda Baker, a dangerous person known for avoiding court appearances. Baker has avoided the court system since she was convicted of abusing her own 10-year-old kid while intoxicated. However, her fame pales in contrast to Mirella Ponce, a famed Tiny Rascal gang member. Ponce's most recent arrest occurred when she was found with a loaded pistol while traveling with her kid and other gang members. 3 accusations against her were dismissed when she pleaded guilty to 1 felony. Ponce expressed guilt for her time in prison and underlined her intention to be a better mother. She acknowledged carrying the pistol while celebrating a friend's birthday, admitting her error and assuring her kid that she was never in danger. However, it is important to recognize that she still could pose a significant threat. As always, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think of the story you just saw on the screen. Number 5. Guatemalan Marlory Chacon Rozelle. Meet Marlory Chacon Rozelle, a Guatemalan woman better known as the Queen of the South. Her name echoes throughout Central America, as she was at the helm of the largest drug trafficking ring and money laundering operation in the region. With her illicit empire spanning far and wide, Rozelle's criminal activities struck fear into the hearts of many. In 2014, Marlory Chacon Rozelle made a bold move and surrendered herself to the United States authorities. This decision marked a pivotal moment in her criminal career as she struck a deal with the U.S., offering them valuable information about her operation in exchange for leniency. However, this alliance with the authorities placed an immense target on her back, making her safety a matter of utmost secrecy. For years, the details of her incarceration and sentencing were shrouded in mystery, but recent revelations shed some light on the matter. Facing a daunting 26-year sentence initially, Rozelle managed to negotiate a reduced term of 12 years. Further negotiations ensued, and her sentence was astonishingly whittled down to a mere 5 years, allowing her to walk free sooner than expected. During her reign as the Queen of the South, Marlory Chacon Rozelle orchestrated an extensive money laundering network handling tens of millions of United States dollars. Additionally, her narcotics trafficking organization operated at an unprecedented scale, supplying major drug cartels in Mexico, such as the notorious Sinaloa cartel and Los Zetas. Number 4. Myra Hindley. Myra Hindley, an English serial killer, will forever be remembered for the horrifying crimes she committed in conjunction with Ian Brady. Together, they mercilessly raped and murdered 5 innocent young children. Myra Hindley was born on 23rd of July 1942 in Crumpsall, a Manchester suburb known for its challenging living conditions. Raised in a working-class family, she endured a troubled childhood that may have contributed to the darkness that lay ahead. The heinous murders took place between July 1963 and October 1965, with Pauline Reed, John Kilbride, Keith Bennett, Leslie Ann Downey, and Edward Evans falling victim to the duo's depravity. These innocent souls were robbed of their futures, and their families were left devastated. In 1966, Hindley was found guilty of 3 of the murders and sentenced to life in prison. Throughout her incarceration, she never saw freedom again, passing away behind bars in 2002. Her name is forever etched in infamy. Number 3. Elizabeth Bathory. Elizabeth Bathory, a Hungarian countess born in 1560, holds a notorious place in history as one of the most prolific female serial killers, according to Guinness World Records. Born into a prominent Protestant nobility in Hungary, her family connections included royalty, with an uncle being the King of Poland and a nephew the Prince of Transylvania. Elizabeth Bathory herself married a count and bore him 4 children. However, beneath her aristocratic facade lurked a dark and twisted persona. After her husband's death in 1604, allegations of heinous crimes against female servants and minor noble women were brought against Bathory. These accusations were so horrifying that King Matthias of Hungary ordered her cousin, the Count Palatine of Hungary, to investigate the claims. During the investigation, numerous testimonies from people living near Bathory's estate revealed a gruesome pattern of torture and murder. It was alleged that she had tortured and killed over 600 girls and women, often abetted by her own servants. Her methods of torture were sadistic and cruel, involving the stripping of her victims, driving needles into their fingers, whipping them with stinging nettles, and forcing them into deadly ice baths during the winter. In 1609, Bathory and her servants were arrested, and the servants faced trial, leading to the execution of 3 of them. However, despite the substantial evidence against her, Elizabeth Bathory herself never faced a proper trial. Her family's influential status during that period shielded her from the justice she deserved. Instead, she was confined to her chambers, where she remained until her death in 1614. Number 2. Leonardo Tianzuli. Leonardo Tianzuli, infamously known as the soap maker of Correggio, was a serial killer hailing from Italy. Her horrifying crimes came to light during World War II, when she was gripped by the fear of her beloved son being drafted into the war. To protect him, Tianzuli resorted to dark and twisted acts of offering human sacrifices. In a chilling spree, Tianzuli brutally murdered 3 of her neighbors, wielding an axe as her weapon of choice. Shockingly, she then proceeded to use the remains of her victims to bake tea cakes. Not only did she consume these macabre creations herself, but she also served them to unsuspecting guests who visited her home. One of her victims, Virginia Cacioppo, suffered an even more gruesome fate. Tianzuli not only turned her into tea cakes, but also used her remains to make bars of soap. Unbelievably, she gifted this sinister soap to friends and neighbors. Eventually, the truth caught up with Leonardo Tianzuli, and she was brought to justice. The Italian authorities sentenced her to 30 years in prison. Number 1. Anna Kuchenko. Anna Kuchenko, also known as Anna Chapman, gained fame as a Russian intelligence agent, media personality, and even a model. However, beneath the glamorous facade lurked a covert operative involved in a high-stakes spy game. Born on February 23, 1982, in Kharkiv, Ukraine, Anna Chapman had a unique background. Her father served as a senior KGB official stationed at the Soviet embassy in Nairobi, Kenya, providing a glimpse into the world of intelligence from an early age. Later, the family settled in Moscow's prestigious Ramenki district, known for housing KGB officials, diplomats, and army officers. Anna's involvement in the murky world of espionage came to light in 2010 when she was arrested in the United States as part of the infamous illegals program Spy Ring. This clandestine network comprised Russian agents operating undercover in the U.S. on behalf of the Russian Federation. Chapman's journey as a spy began when she was recruited as an agent while in the UK. Subsequently, she assumed the role of a sleeper agent in the United States, quietly working under deep cover. Her activities did not go unnoticed, and the FBI began keeping a close watch on her every move. Eventually, the authorities apprehended her, and she faced serious charges of conspiring to act as an agent of a foreign government without notifying the U.S. Attorney General. In a dramatic turn of events, Chapman was deported to Russia in 2010 as part of a prisoner exchange. However, her attempt to return to the UK with her British passport proved to be another thrilling chapter in her story. MI6's Secret Service intercepted her flight, as her passport had been revoked. Anna, apparently seeking to make a deal to keep her passport and reveal information about other illegals in the UK, refused to cooperate. Instead, she stood firm, choosing to return to Russia. As part of the terms of her release, Chapman is now forbidden from ever divulging details about her activities in the United States, shrouding her past exploits in a cloak of secrecy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.